My former co-host of Leverage, Natalka Falcomer, is back with us this week to talk about everything about the market. I feel like we talk about the market every single week, but there's so much. I feel like there's so much to talk about and so much like not to talk about. Like it's like the same, and it's also so crazy. Like everybody I talk to, they're like, "Oh, that's such a good point. I didn't know that. Oh, there's so much going on," and I'm like, are there so many complexities, or is it really just like the same thing we're seeing month over month? But as we all know, Natalka is, well, she's one of those superstars. She was a 30 under 30. She is a lawyer by trade, and she was a vice president at Chestnut Park, and that is where we met until she went to RBC. So it is a pleasure to have you back on because I figured why not take one of our spirited conversations that we have on a regular basis and just turn it into an episode and update everybody on what we're seeing in the market. So welcome.
Love it. So I'll do my disclaimer, not RBC, not,
Yes.
this is
Sorry, yes.
my perspective, not Houseful's perspective. This is just me. And the reason why I'm going to put that disclaimer out there is because a lot of what I'm seeing I want to be spicy. And so I want to make sure I
You want
divorce
your
my
spice.
spiciness from the world that in which I operate. So Rachel, I actually think there's some same, but different that we can talk about. I am seeing some different themes that did not exist in the Canadian housing market in the last decade.
Okay, are we going Canada? Like we're going to go Canada overall?
We're going to go, let's focus on where probably the majority of your audience sits, which is GTA. Is that fair?
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, but generally, okay, Canada generally is kind of like ho hum as far as what's happening in the Canadian market, right? As in, there's no big recovery, there's no real resurgence, we're just kind of getting back to basics, meaning that people, buyers, are no longer acting like VCs and private equity, in which they're just buying on like the thrill of it and it's all going to go up and to the moon, but rather more like end users. We're now not fearing missing out, we're fearing overpaying.
So
Rachel.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was a great, so when you went to, these predictors of the market, the people that went into the market never intending to use the product, projecting on like people do in the stock market, don't get me wrong, but I had Dominic Trump on for last week, and we got into that, and he basically said this was actually one of the biggest problems that caused, there are a lot of things that caused the condo, we were speaking condo specifically, but that caused the condo market to get where it is today was that the this group of people pushed the prices to a place that they never have should been. They never should have gotten there. And they're now out of the market. But he told me that, and I'm trying to remember now, I'd have to go back to the notes, but whether this was something that Daniels was choosing to do or whether it was legislation, was that they were going to limit the amount of units per person. Because we all remember, and I remember, you know me, I didn't get into the pre-con and all that stuff, but I still don't love it. Sorry, guys. But I think that there were stories about people walking in and going, I'll take the whole floor. And so end users don't collapse a market, right? So that's a tangent, but I think it's a really good point to talk about when you say that about those people, that group of buyers, what that means and what the effect is on the market versus an end user, for example, and why I believe it will be stable or more stable coming in the coming years because they're out and end users are coming back. And further, to close the circle, I don't think you can really come up with big like statements for across Canada. Think about how many markets, how different it is. It's like saying, like the Canadian housing market, like when like Korea comes out with their comments, I'm like there's so many micro markets, Calgary and Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal, they're so different. Like Montreal's having a crazy resurgence.
Yes, like if you just take a look at it, for example, like even the housing price index. So the changes in the HPA on a national level are not replicated in any real market, right? And so meaning that it's not exactly the same, it's not one for one. I want to talk a little bit about, let's put some numbers around the pre-con space, because I think it's really worth talking about how bad it is. But there are great markets. I want to talk about how good it is as well. So Urban Nation posted some data whereby new condo sales in the GHTA, so Greater Toronto Area, has dropped to a 35-year low, Rachel. Only 246 units sold, 52% year over year decline in sales, down 94% versus the 10-year average, zero new condo projects, unsold inventory hit 92 months of supply. So what does that do?
92 months. Sorry, that's hilarious.
So why does this matter? Like, why are we beating on this? I'm not trying to fearmonger. That's not the point. Because I do believe in the Canadian real estate market. And I do believe right now is still a good time to buy, depends where.
What and what you can't paint condos with a brush.
No, exactly. So pre-con, this is what pre-con relied upon. It relied upon a market that constantly did this: rising prices, easy financing, very
Right, and because you are buying a condo on the future value, not the resale. And that is why people who bought a pre-con at the height of the market where that are going to get occupancy this year or next year are underwater. Side note, and like a specific example. So I have a client who's looking for a large condo. Okay, downsizing, but still needs room for her kids. Okay, so looking in, and this is a luxury play, don't get me wrong, but looking in the 1.5 million, maybe up to two if need be. Okay, fine. No, first of all, not so easy to find, just so you know, because they don't build 15 plus, like 1,500 square foot plus builds anymore. So we went to look at so we went to look at an older building in the Forest Hill Village. Wasn't for us, it was too old, it was dark, it doesn't matter. But right across the street on that in that pocket was a new build. I want to call it something called like it was like South Forest Hill Residence or whatever the build was called. Okay. Westlake was the builder. So
oh.
So I'm not throwing under the bus. I have no idea. This is just my like gut spidey sense from like what I could see that day. It looked like it was at a standstill and it looked like there was no money happening right there. Okay. So that was just the way it looked to me. And it said that it was like occupancy was coming up soon. Here's the kicker. Okay. So it started. Their one bedroom started at 1.4 million, up to 4.4 million. Granted, their larger units were, I didn't get like pricing, whatever. By the way, no one's gotten back to me either. But for a 2,400 square foot, so do the math. That's not appraising today. And to no one, like we were laughing, I was like $4.4 million. Like, so I think people hear that the pre-con market is dead, that we've gotten into 2 months of inventory, that we're down this much. I think one of the reasons we're down is because there's zero, as you said, there's zero projects. So now you've got the same stale inventory. Imagine you had the same 100 houses for sale on the market. Would you buy it? Like,
No, like, and Rachel, we talked about this, God, like over a year ago. You will not go wrong buying an end user type of place, meaning a place where people can hang up their shingle and have a family. We have talked about this 1,000 times. Now it is playing out. Now it is being witnessed by the market. The reason being is because pre-con is, just like you said, built on future value. Off-seas rules, they've tightened the regulations. No longer they're allowing banks to appraise or provide financing based on that speculative value that you bought it for when the market was all sexy and hot.
And that's what got us into this problem.
Correct. Like among
Well,
other
one of the things.
one of the things for sure. So it's not just like here's what I worry about though. The pre-con market we've talked about is like was in our view ridiculous. The reason being is because in real estate you actually never buy on future value. You always buy on current value. In buying a business, it's the same type of thinking. Any VC, private equity, anyone worth their salt would tell you that. That was not the case in this very speculative space. But here's what I worry about. There's also a psychological factor here, meaning that we're conflating what's happening in the pre-con space with what's happening in the overall market. And now people are thinking and feeling, buyers, oh my goodness, the whole thing is about to collapse and implode, right? Like this is just like the beginning. And I worry about that. I really worry about that because I worry that psychology will win over fundamentals. So what are you
For
seeing?
sure.
What are you seeing? Are you still seeing sellers? Are you seeing now buyers saying, hey, well, pre-con is in the dump, so therefore I should be getting better pricing? Like, what are you seeing?
So I don't touch pre-con. I'm not going to tell you that I
Oh, no,
talk.
no. I mean, as in the psychology dripping over into regular, like saying, okay, they're confusing pre-con market with regular market, detached, etc.
So I think there's two angles to this. One would be that people are conflating the pre-con and seeing the headline and thinking that's all condo. Okay. So I had another client moved to Vancouver temporarily for work, called me and said, you know what, I'm thinking about moving back, but I hear the condo market is like in the toilet. If there's, I'm here for it. If there's a great deal, like I'll fly home to see something. And I'm like, no. I said, there's the pre-con, and remember the pre-con of like buildings where you've got your smaller units, bad units also. It doesn't have to even be small. It can be a 700 square foot unit that has 100 feet in a hallway and a horrible layout. And they've hit, like I've seen 2 bedroom, 2 bathrooms in 650 square feet. I'm going to tell you something. You can't get a queen size bed in those bedrooms. Okay. Or they're looking over, I've seen, not forget pre-con, but just like newer building. I saw one that was overlooking a dumpster in the back downtown. Like there's all sorts of things that can make a unit and a condo uninhabitable. Okay, it just can. And people are becoming wise to what I call the hallway kitchens. They want an actual kitchen. They're getting, wise to what I call your bowling alley layouts where you just got this long, thin, where you got your,
One window at the very back, yeah.
one window on the end. It's all dark otherwise. You got your bathroom, like bedroom off the living room where you can't put a TV. I mean, all these, like they sound like small things. You put them together, there's no utility. You don't even have to put a shingle. No shingle for a condo. You just need to have a utility. So I speak again. This is boots on the ground. I have clients. First of all, going back to this, first-time buyers are back. First-time buyers are coming back and saying, okay, I can afford again. Prices are down. I'd say condo prices, not pre-con, but condo prices are down 2018 levels. Okay? It's a
Still high.
great.
But that's the weird tension, Rachel, is that it's not that everything is now super affordable, despite.
No, but it's afford. But if you look at it and think, okay, what was everybody dying for during COVID? They wanted to be able to go out and see a property that they didn't have to get into a bidding war about, that they could book conditions in,
Yeah.
and the interest rate is, come on, like
Hello.
interest rates used to. Granted, you could buy a house for $100,000, but interest rates were 13. We talked about that with Dominic. Like interest rate, I think he told me his first house was 13%. And I said, okay, but how much was your house? And he goes, ask me how much I made.
Yes.
All relative. So I think that the headlines about the pre-con are overstepping into the condo market. I think the condo builders are going to have to rethink how they are going to build in the future, because I think the question is great. When condos start to pick up and they start thinking about building again, and he said to me, he's like, well, we built what was in demand. And I'm like, I'm not throwing him under the bus, But I'm like also, but you also built what you like make money on. So I think there's that element of we can't go back to a building where you only have a 1 to 25 ratio for a parking spot and that you have, bedrooms that have two walls that are doors. Have a few of them, but not half the building. Housing market, I'm not feeling it. I'm telling people who did not buy in COVID
Right.
are not affected by this. They're going to enjoy lower prices. And in certain neighborhoods, there's still bidding wars. The East End continues to defy logic. Okay. You still have a 12-day average days on market.
Tell me why East End you think is just so ridiculous still. Is it because the lots are larger? Is it because location to downtown? Like what's happening? What's happening?
It's cool. It's cool to live in the East End. The East
Oh,
End's
it's first
cool.
first
It's
time buyer.
cool. First, young families who don't have $3 million to buy a house, who maybe don't even have $2 million to buy a house. So that 1.5 to be able to get into the freehold market and to be able to have a backyard on a nice street is still available to you in Riverdale. And you've got cool cafes and you've got the Queen Street streetcar and like there's great parks and like a vibe to it. And it's a lovely neighborhood where you still have independent shops and that type of thing. Whereas versus like the West End is also beautiful, but I know, but it's not, it doesn't have the same walkability.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you have to go downtown Toronto, it takes me 2 hours. If I were to take a bus and subway and blah blah blah, it would be about 2 hours. I think the LRT I think is going to be coming on soon. I don't know what's happening there, but like assuming LRT is still not functioning the way it should be, yeah, it takes time. It really does.
It does. I mean, I was on the new LRT on Sunday after I ran the Sporting Life. I took it 3 stops. It was lovely. No one was on it. So let's see.
Yep, that is going to be very worrisome because there's a whole problem.
I think that, and I did a video on this a few months ago or a couple months ago now. Affordability is still a massive problem in Toronto. Detached homes in central Toronto, CO1, CO2, CO3, you name it. The average, I think there's 15. 4 of them were maybe 3 of them were under 2 million, and then one of them was like, the bridal path was like 6 million.
Yeah, yeah.
But everything else is average 2 million over average.
So this is what I think, what I hear you saying is that it's now about functionality and where can I actually have set up a life. And so I would say that buyers then should still apply that lens when they look at a home, meaning that what is the resale here? Not assuming that you want to sell tomorrow. And you and I have talked about this. It's like you got to hold. Like every real estate you buy, think that you're going to have to hold it for at least 7 to 8 years because there's going to be this. And you don't want to be selling and forced to sell when it's in the down market, right? Now, here's something that I find interesting. So you're talking about like East End, et cetera. There are a couple of markets, though, that are even more difficult to get into, where there's more buyer activity that also had a lot of activity during COVID.
I'm
And
listening.
I want to hear what's happening in this because during COVID, people can work remotely. You know how I feel about that and all that jazz, as in it's a good thing. Because that alleviated pressure of having to live in the downtown core. So that really helped affordability. Uh, so when people moved out to Ajax, Halton Hill, Orangeville, Milton, etc., those markets like really went quite high.
Oh
It's
yeah.
interesting.
Cottage
Those
country.
markets continue to be actually where more buyers are. The
Well, Durham's
sales,
having a resurgence.
it is.
But Durham's been a bedroom community since the 90s.
But why is it having a resurgence? Because there's all this talk about back to the office. It's far. Like what do you
Isn't it? Like, think about it. It's the TTC's version of the Young Line.
line?
Because you've got the Go station. You've got that Go. It's like exactly the same reason why people live in Oakville who can get on that go train and get right into Toronto. It's the same if you live in Oshawa, whether you live in Bowmanville, you can get on and you've got that direct go line right into Union Station. You also, and we've talked about this in like, back in COVID when we were talking about like the best cities to invest, like an investment property, right? You were going to buy an investment property. You weren't going to do it in Toronto. It was too expensive. Where am I going to invest in? You're going to look for a city that has a university, that has a hospital, right? Community centers, Oshawa General, you've got Durham College, same thing, right? Like that's where Oshawa, it had the GM plant. So Durham it's also like they build condos like by the water in Ajax. It would be like they're really pretty towns in certain parts of them. Tons of people still want to live there, and you can buy a house for $1 million out there still.
Well, let's talk about, so like, I was surprised. I thought Caledon would also fall into that, but Caledon's just not on any line. It's more difficult to get to. Is that why? And Stouffville too?
Caledon,
Stouffville's not doing as great.
first of all, I gotta tell you something. Caledon like is like a dream. I put clients out there. It's country living without a lake. It's gorgeous. You have the most stunning estates. But you have to be ready for country living and an hour drive into the city. But it's perfect for people who don't have to drive to a city, who work from home, there are a lot of people who don't want to live in the city anymore. I mean, again, I could tell you what I witnessed walking from Eastern Avenue to Yonge and Dundas Square on Sunday.
Okay, you have to tell me now.
Two open drug deals, of which I watched cops drive by and not do anything about them. There was a lovely gentleman smoking crack on his pipe in a corner way. By the way, one of the drug deals was right outside St. Mike's.
Oh,
And then there was the plethora of like a zombie land of meth addicts that were just like that you would just as my running partner and she would be like, go wide, just go wide. I'm going to use this as a chance to plug and say that there is a Toronto election in October, people. Vote.
yes, I actually witnessed yesterday. I was walking into the path. Someone injecting themselves like a drug. It was a drug, not like Wegovy or whatever people use these days.
Oh, I don't think that he was having some Ozemp.
No, Ozempic was not in the play here, and I was like, and I'm going to give wide berth to that because that is you worry what happens. I don't know what they're doing, right?
And by the way, and then you get on the subway and they're on the subway harassing people and people don't feel safe on the subway. And so, I would say hilariously, not hilariously, but like, there's still places downtown like Trinity Bellwoods and Little Italy and whatever that you can still buy a $3-4 million house and it's gorgeous. But, some of the most expensive houses like in Rosedale are steps away from, Rosedale Valley Road where there are the encampments. So we digress. Milton is far.
Well,
It
people love
has to
it.
go. People love it. It's got great trails and there's lots of infrastructure out there as well. Stouffville, also, listen, these places aren't so far. Like,
Stouffville's actually not doing as great, which I was surprised by. Same with Richmond Hill. I thought that they would be doing better in comparison to some of the other places that we listed.
but Richmond Hill, like, it's very suburban. Still, but Thornhill Woods, perfect example. Sought after destination, young families definitely still want to be there. In the height of the market, detached 4-bedroom house,
It was wild.
0.2 to 2.4. Now they're 1.6 to 1.8.
That's a
But
decline.
it's a big decline, but there's still demand and they still have. So the interesting part is there's still demand, they're still selling, and the good inventory sells fast in multiples, but they're still cheaper.
Here's actually a place that's got no multiples, and I want to hear your boots on the ground experience with this market. Are you ready for it? Like it has been. So I'm not on Facebook, but my husband like loves to send me like Instagram and like Facebook things, and that I can never
I don't
access.
need anything.
So he only so I only read the headlines. Brampton,
So interesting so you throw up Brampton. So I was at the UJA Leaders Lounge. You have to come with me next year.
I would love to.
And I heard a couple of the builders speak. So the point of the conference is really just to hear people in the community, leaders who have built these, like I heard Great Gulf Homes, I heard Mitch Cohen from Daniel's group, and so you hear them talk about, I heard Starlight speak last year. You want to hear their story, how they started. They all have amazing, incredible stories, like really incredible, incredible stories. One of them, the gentleman who started Great Gulf Homes, like survivor of the Holocaust, and there's his son, like sitting there, or his parents were, I don't remember, it's horrible, but like, and his son's there, and just like generational, incredible family, like that, what they built. And I hate to do this, but you know, Daniels Corp, for example, and you talk about no builds happening, no condo builds. They're still building stacked townhouses. Why? Because you can still make money in stacked townhouses. And what was the one market I kept hearing about? Brampton.
Tell me more.
Well, so
And in what way?
that they're building pre-con townhouses, that they both had people have projects going on in Brampton. Why? So I think there's an influx of people going there. I think that there's different parts of Brampton. So you can't like brush Brampton all in the same brush. But I think it's because you can still get land cheap, and they are building based on future idea of where people are going to end up and what is going to be affordable and where can you buy a house. I mean, but that market kept coming up over and over again. Another interesting side note was they said, so there's no condos. Like I went to see both of them because I wanted to hear what they were building, right? I'm like, well, what are you doing with your time, right? Like, and they said they're getting into the senior space. They're calling Chartwell and they're doing projects with Chartwell. And they're getting into the student housing space. And they're calling up U of T and they're getting into partnership. They're dialing for dollars, Natalka. The builders are dialing for dollars. They don't want to get into senior homes. That's not a build. That's not a future. They're weighing out, they're passing the time until the market recovers. And Great Gulf, I actually didn't know this. They're the largest builder in the US. Incredible story, incredible company. They're getting into Nashville, and they even think they're getting into Nashville late. They're getting into Tampa. Um, and someone said, would you build in Toronto? And they're like, not with a 10-foot pole.
And why not?
Too much red tape, too much pushback. He said, like, I can walk into like a office in Tampa and I can get my building permit for $100 in like a week. Like there's no soft landing, there's no welcome mat for builders in Toronto.
Which is so wild because
We need it more than Nashville? Yeah.
yeah, but but the narrative that's put forward by local politicians that we voted in is that they care about affordability. So,
I
so
didn't vote for Mayor Chow, so I don't know what she says, but she doesn't know what she's talking about. But she's happy to take all the development charges that aren't happening now.
and so that's why that's interesting that they wouldn't. Well, I mean, it's interesting. It's unsurprising. We know this, right? But I'm curious. So Brampton, the headlines that I'm getting from, and I can only go click so deeply onto this. Like the data proves out that Brampton's not doing great, right? As in, there's like it's just slower. It's one of the slowest markets. But the headlines, the more catching ones, are all about these bankruptcies, like just tons of bankruptcies, foreclosures, fraud.
There was a lot of fraud in Brampton over COVID. There was a lot of fraud, mortgage fraud, but like
Income fraud, income claims.
There was so, did I ever tell you? Did I never? Oh, I almost vomited actually. It was such a, I think I told this story to Joel in one of our podcasts. So back in COVID, I was referred this lovely, like older gentleman who was selling his house in Brampton. Okay. And he was like this lovely Italian man who used to give me peppers and like he was half blind and I used to go and visit him and it's very, very sweet. Anyway, and we finally find a buyer for his house and the agent, I don't know how she finds her way home. I'm not just like I'm really not disparaging anyone, but like I don't think she like a part-time agent like was really like not good. Not good. That's all I'm going to say. Not good. No bueno. So we're 2 days before closing, and I check in. I'm like, is everything okay? We're good to close. And she's like, I don't know. I assume so. Like I haven't spoken to the mortgage broker. Like, and I said, what do you mean? You do you know who the mortgage broker is? No. I'm gonna need the. I want the name now. Like I need you to connect me with a mortgage broker immediately. I can't. I can't make this up. She sent me his email, 647gameboy@gmail.com.
No. Oh my God.
It closed. I'm not looking. I don't like. I don't know. It's all fine. He got his money. We're all moved on. I don't know, but like that's the kind of stuff. So when people are like fraud and these people, it's not happening to your average person. If you're dealing with like good agents that are at a brokerage that you've heard of before, and they don't have Gmail accounts, but there was a lot of it. You
You don't have Game Boy accounts, like
sorry.
you don't have Game Boy at Gmail. Oh, wow.
Hmm.
That's so
I'm
cryptic
not
and
making
weird.
it up. It was really horrifying, but uh, it was an interesting pocket, and I don't know why it was happening there more than not. And no need to speculate, but I mean, there was a lot of stuff, shady stuff going on, and
So that's why I'm surprised that they actually, like the builders that you're talking about who are sophisticated, are saying, hey, we still want to be in that market. Because it seems that everyone's, I mean, again, this is like headliney stuff. So that's why I want to get your like boots on the ground experience. Like, are people saying we're not touching Brampton?
no, I mean, I don't do a ton, even though all my business is referral. I don't do. I think I've done a few deals in Brampton over my years. I wouldn't say it's something people aren't touching at all. I would also say that people and investors bought into Detroit when it was bankrupt. So,
Very good. So, oh, you know what we should get into then? I think we should round this out with forecasting. What are we predicting?
okay, so the numbers came out a couple weeks ago.
You did.
Sales volume was up 7% over last year. Active listings were down,
Yeah.
but average price was down.
Yes. By like what, four, it depends on how you measure it, but yeah. Like HPI was down as well year over year, around 6% or so. Yeah, yeah. We're not talking about like 20% crashes here, but but there's a decline.
No, and listen, I Benjamin Tall called this a transitional year. We were not expecting any recovery this year. What I find interesting now, is it a micro trend? Is it an overall trend? I don't know, and we'll have to watch and see is this increase in sales but decrease in inventory going to get us into a tighter inventory situation again? Because that drove the market for a good year when it shouldn't have. I remember I was like, why is the market not softening? The market should be softening now. Like, and it was because we had such tight inventory. There was nothing to buy. So what I'm seeing is buyers being very, very picky, but the buyers that are out there are serious. There's no one kicking tires. And I would say that people are coming back to buy. I like our team has been way heavier on buyers than we have sellers this year, which aligns with the numbers. And I would also say that it's probably going to continue because until we get into a recovery situation, people are not going to want to sell their blue chip stock house. And it's going to take, so you said 7 to 8 years to hold on to your house to see.
Like that's like the rule of like the rule of thumb. Like
Well, it used to be 5 to 8, and I would say it's 7 to 10 now if you bought during COVID, and even longer if you have a condo.
yeah, well, I remember during like I remember with the 80s and 90s crash. This is the same, except the interest rates aren't higher. Like that was the interest rates that really brought the market down. I recall people telling me stories about condos in my neighborhood that were going for prices that were like comparable to like contemporary numbers, like millions of dollars for condos in the freaking hype of the 80s and 90s. So what was happening? Exactly what was happening before with the pre-con space. Everyone was, it's going to keep on going, man. It's going to keep on. And before you knew it, your neighbor was flipping homes. The guy down the street was flipping homes. Your mom was flipping homes because of this, this, right? Which is exactly what we saw in the last, let's say, couple of years. So nothing like,
We've been here before. That's the point. We've all been here before.
yeah, this has never been surprising. Like, Rachel, you helped me sell at the height of the market because I remember we said, you know what? This is probably it. At the top of the market, you helped me sell for a beautiful price.
Oh, that person's gonna have to wait.
You're gonna wait for a while, right? And like, and because it's not like we're magical or exceptionally bright. You are, not myself, but it's just the following things happen. This is what you got to look out for.
We knew how to find an opportunity and act on it, and you leaned into the process and we got it done, and it was the right time. But I would also say that until we see us out of this mode, and listen, not to get political again, but I think while Donald Trump is still in office and Carney doesn't want to play nice with him, or vice versa, however people want to see it, I'm not taking sides. But the point is that that's going to continue to create uncertainty in the economy, and people are not going to want to do anything because the Bank of Canada is like, well, we don't want to raise the interest rates, which usually should be a stabilizer. And the reason that they're not is because everything is so uncertain. Because we still have an uncertainty around the tariffs and we don't have a deal. And so people are not going to do anything major.
I would agree.
The worst part is if you are a move up client right now, chef's kiss is the perfect time. But a lot of people don't want to do it because, again, they bought 2020, 2021. They're like, okay, I'm 5 years in now. I need more room. And they are like, well, I'm going to take $100,000 hit. I'm going to take, but, which is really hard to take on the chin, and I get that. But if you look at the delta between, again, I could have bought that $2.2 million house, but now I buy it for 1.8. My delta and my final mortgage is lower.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So what I see happening like generally in business world and what have you is that a lot of people have been holding off because of all the uncertainty, all of it. I'm seeing people now saying, you know what? We're kind of getting used to this craziness. Let's just go. So you're starting to see a lot of people just saying, okay, I'm now acclimated to the new world. We just now have to go. And I do think like the macro thesis for the rest of the year, I believe speculation is out. I think fundamentals are back in.
I think it'll be a lot of the same.
Buy a house that has a yard because I have kids and blah, 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 blah. And it has to have these particular features, not because I think I could flip it next year, or in fact, we're demanding more quality from our real estate. So to your point, I'm not going to take something that has a dumpster as my view. I want something that's good because I now have to live in it because the speculators.
1,000%. There's no like, I'll accept that I'm on a busy street. I literally have clients who will be like, I don't want this street. Like, we'll come. This is the street. This is the street. Let me know if anything comes up in that street. That's how specific, because people realize it's a bigger commitment and they want more for their money, which I get, don't get me wrong. But prediction would be, I think that we'll start to, I think we're going to see more of the same. Like, I would be very surprised. Last year wasn't the greatest year. So I'd be very surprised to see a decline in sales. You never know.
What about
I
prices?
am seeing condos sell, resale condos. And I would also say that people are not going to jump to list their house because the prices, it's a very, so one, very, very price conscious. People are not going to overpay. They're not going to overpay. And then the third interesting piece that I'll give you as a prediction and a boots on the ground trend is off market. And it ties into the lack of inventory. So people who have a great house that want to sell, but they see the market and they're like, I'm not going to get my price. I don't want to go. I don't want to do everything I have to do, and like my life is busy, and so I'm going to have to go and stage, and I have to move out, or I have to put stuff in storage, and then you're going to take pictures and all this stuff, and then I have to worry about showings. You know, let's just see if we can sell it off market first. This is what I want. And agents are networking with each other more than they ever have been because there's no good inventory. I think it's also, if you don't have an agent that is in that and talking to those agents in those areas, you might be unaware of stuff that's being sold that is available, and also price wise, because the comps that are posted are not always, unless, oh my God, I did a deal with a client, this agent. She will remain named. We found this house. It was an off-market house for clients in the East End. And she called. She's like, "Can I post it on MLS?" I was like, "What?" I go, "Let me guess. You want it for your stats?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I'm like, "So you're going to post for the price that we paid, sold in a day?"
And that skews market data.
It skews market data. It skews her performance. It's such a smoke and mirrors. I've seen it before. You've seen it where like we were looking and all of a sudden they're like, "Wait a second. How did that get and now it's sold? What's happening?" No, it was sold 3 weeks ago to someone and they just chose to post it on MLS so they can go into a listing presentation and say, "Oh, my average days on my listings are 5 days."
Holy,
And she's like, "Don't you care?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't build my business that way."
holy.
Yeah.
Is there a way that,
Oh, and you know what else I learned from going from a smaller brokerage to a larger brokerage? I've always been in a brokerage that did all of this themselves, but you go to a bigger brokerage and no one does it for you. So I found out that there's agents. I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this on a podcast, but there are agents that will sell a property and it's sold conditional, and then they'll backdate the number, like how many days on market, so that it shows it's less. And like, unless someone checks, I was like,
God,
yeah, yeah.
and the vast majority of agents are with large platforms. They're not
And
with
it's not their fault. No, but my new ops manager was in a deals department for years in a large brokerage. And she actually said to me in a recent closing, she's like, "Did you want me to post when I posted sold?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "We just sold." She goes, "No, but you want me to backdate it?" I go, "What do you mean backdated?" I'm like, "You're not allowed to backdate it." And she's like, "Oh, people do all the time." I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no."
So basically, okay, so why is that important? That's important.
Anyway, that was such a tangent.
No, but Rachel, this is kind of important because what that does is it messes with days on market on the MLS. Okay, why do we care? Because that's where we get our data from. So garbage in, garbage out.
I mean, it's it. My prediction for the rest of the year is a lot of the same. I will tell you from a condo perspective, good units priced properly will sell in good buildings. And when I say good, again, like layout, $1 per square foot in maintenance fees in that range, a buck 25, 90 cents, whatever, call it what you want. I would say older, but not old buildings with good layouts, well run, $1,000 square foot, give or take on either side, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, with parking, 700 square feet and higher, easy. Under $1 million, boom. Houses, semi-detached were like crazy down, whatever. That's just inventory. That's not that it wasn't selling. So, semi-detached should not even be looked at as a data point because it's so small. There's so few of them across the city, and for sure in the 905, that if you just don't have a lot that month, it's just an irrelevant data point. And then detached,
It's
it
always doing
so
well.
depends.
They're
So
holding up.
depends on the neighborhood.
And they're generally holding up. Why? Because back to fundamentals. Can I have a family here? Can I raise them? Can I get to the office? Blah, blah, blah. Like that is like that's the reality in which we live in. And that's going to be my prediction. Like always, the Canadian housing market is not a tale of one market, it's a tale of multiple markets.
Exactly. Oh, Toronto's a a tale of two cities for sure.
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's going to continue that way. I think we're going to see likely more buyers as we come out of this fog of what the hell's happening in a larger macroeconomic perspective and what have you. And I think we're just going to see more buyers. And I do think that where it's good is going to get better as far as prices are going to go up. And where it's like not so great, it's still going to be not so great, meaning that prices will be muted. Like but I don't think the whole for the rest of this year, I don't think we're going to have like a wild rip up.
I don't think we're going to have a wild rip up period. I don't think that's happening. I don't think it's coming. I think that that's the most important thing that sellers need to understand is that 2027 isn't your year either. That we're now going to go back to a time where prices increase at the rate of inflation, hence why I believe it's a 7, 8, 10 year runway. It's just we're like the golden age of that is over. We've talked about for the last 40 years in Toronto, 4 decades, we saw that your house doubled in value every 10 years. Double. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. Are we in a strong city, in a strong country where you can still buy a home, live a good life with your family? Yes. But I mean, again, we had clients who called us and they were hesitating about selling their house. They bought it during COVID, not with me. They were referred to me. And they said, but it was a great little semi, like Rogers Road. They said, we really need like a 1.1, like minimum. Do you think we could do it? I go, absolutely, absolutely. And they're like, what do you mean absolutely? I go, you show me a good 3 bedroom, semi-detached with parking anywhere in the city, and I'll tell you can't buy it for 1.1, under 1.1. So that, like, I think that when you say prices are muted, yes, they're muted, but you're still in city of Toronto, west or east. What are you buying for $800,000? Even in 905, even in Thornhill, nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I think we're aligned in what we're saying. We're saying it differently. Like I think we're not going to see this tear anymore, which is what I mean by muted, right? But also, to be fair, it kind of depends on what. Like if it's gonna, like you said, if the 500 square foot condo ain't gonna be so great versus overlooking the dumpster versus detached parking, all that stuff. It's now back to fundamentals. It's back to basics. It's like the Warren Buffett type of economy or market, as opposed to like, what is it called? Like, a speculative VC hype vibe coding type of thing, right? But Rachel, I got to get back to work.
To your other job.
My other job.
Which you have no connection to in this podcast. But thank you very much. We will have you back as always. It was lovely to see you, and I'm sure we'll speak soon and enjoy the long weekend. And we will air this lovely prediction next week.
You got it. And one day I will get social media so I could amplify this for you.
It's okay. I'll tag David. He can amplify.
Oh, yeah, he can do it. Then send me all the Facebook comments.
I'll see you later. All right. Bye.